Aloha. What's good and howdy, summer soldiers and sunshine patriots. Happy 4th of July. That is a quote from Thomas Paine. Yeah, 4th of July is definitely one of my favorite holidays. Middle of the baseball season, and All-Star game is about to be upon us. So fantasy baseball manager corner. We're in a new corner, first of all, and second of all, podcast related, but not fantasy baseball related advice. Don't piss the universe off by announcing you're going to do videos or podcasts or whatever. Just do them. Because the last drop I did, which was like, I don't know, it was a hot minute ago. I think I said something to that effect, like, "Oh, I want to do more of these," and it was just like, "All right, cool." So delay, and actually, it was all for the most part really good delays, life wise and otherwise. I was getting my personal training certificate recertified, and there was an issue with the test, the exam or whatever initially, so it was kind of a shit show. And then, so okay, I nailed that in May or whatever, and I was going to do a drop back then actually, and it was like on prospects. I was like, actually, for my own fantasy team, like, had picked up a couple of prospects, and like, I was like feeling like I was like reading the room or whatever, so I was like, all right, so let's see who's next. And so I picked up, it was Yuri Perez. So, and it was kind of like against, I think, the sort of grain of what most people were thinking. Like, he wasn't even maybe going to come up this season or whatever. And so I'm picking him up and thinking I'm a contrarian, or like the next day the Marlins bring his ass up. So good for my fantasy team, but it kind of sucks because it really C-blocked my ability to put some content on this channel. So anyway, enough of my complaint. All right, one more complaint. No more complaints. I think my coffee is ready. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. This whole like personal training, like all the things that are involved in like the workout or fitness, like career, the hours are insane. It's like 4 a.m. to like 10 p.m. at night. So I think that's why I'm up at 3 a.m. on 4th of July doing some fantasy content. So I'm going to get some coffee. I'll be right back. Oh, yeah. So the other nice thing that happened while I was on hiatus was the Last Word on Sports, the site that I write for, moved me over to the Last Word on Baseball, which is baseball-specific content, and gave me the purview of fantasy, so that made me super stoked to write fantasy content specifically, which obviously dovetails nicely with this channel, so that's awesome. So let's, without further ado, I got a trade, a fade, and a couple of waiver wire acquisitions. So I'm not usually big on the trade, like, buy high, sell high. But this time of the year, it's like so relevant because a lot of teams are in playoff contention. And like in my league, we have keepers, so that adds leverage to certain trades. So like if a team's out of it, they may take a keeper for next year kind of thing. So you can get a lot of value from a trade. So I figured I'd throw a couple out there that, are particularly relevant at this point of the season. The first is a trade for. So the guy I think you should go out and get is Seattle Mariners starting pitcher Bryce Miller. And this is a guy that I kind of had my eye on, and then somebody grabbed him and like reaped the reward of so many good starts, and then got disillusioned and dropped him. So he's like actually on my free agent waiver wire or whatever in my league right now. So I'm like, I gotta get this guy. But he's 67% owned, so he may not be available in your league. So if he is not available in your league and his owner in your league may be getting disillusioned with him, he just became even more gettable because the Mariners put him on the injured list with a totally kind of cosmetic situation. It's a blister, so it should heal and could be kind of the reason why he's had middling results recently. That's a very good kind of buying opportunity, I think, for Mr. Miller, because if you look at his peripherals, if you look at the kind of underlying performance indicators, it's all good. It's good. It's good stuff. So starting with, if you go to his StatCast page, you kind of get to see right away what Bryce Miller's Dirk Diggler, for lack of a better term, is the kind of big talent that he has that's hiding in plain sight. It's his fastball, and it's a big one. It's like a 12-inch fastball, if you will. And this, in terms of baseball statistics, is the 99 percentile of spin rate. And what that translates to is it's about 2,600 revolutions per minute. That is kind of equivalent to what a lot of guys' sliders are. So you've got a fastball coming in at about mid 90s with slider spin. And this is why the opposing gentlemen are having such a hard time catching up to this very special pitch. And it's even more special when you look at, Saris's Stuff Plus model, and Miller's stuff across the board kind of checks out pretty high for the most part. He's got 3 above average pitches according to Saris's model. And when you sort the leaderboard for the Stuff Plus, Bryce Miller comes up number 7 of pitchers in baseball who have pitched more than 50 innings. Yeah, that's him over Corbin Burns there. And then if you kind of look at his StatCast page, my man throws like almost 5 or 6 pitches. And this kind of is contrary to what he's been touted as, which is like a one-pitch pitcher, essentially. And Freddie Peralta has been making that work, or made that work for a while. And I think Miller actually has some even more interesting stuff going on. If you look at a sweeper, which they classify 2 different, so he's got a slider and a sweeper. And the sweeper, he doesn't actually throw as often as the slider, but it gets ridiculous vertical movement, like 6 inches above average vertical movement. So maybe a piece he wants to go to a little bit more in the future. Who knows? Because he's not really generating the same kind of strikeout rates or swing and miss whiff rates that he should be with his stuff. So there's a next level to Mr. Miller, if you ask me, and it might be worth going out and acquiring him to find out what that is in the second half. Now, the guy that I'm fading is another dude who I kind of had a bit of a crush on, and another league mate swooped in and nabbed him before I could avail myself to his services, is Chicago Cubs multi-utility player Christopher Morel. So I'm not saying he's not going to be a useful fantasy player, but this may be as good as it gets in terms of at least batting average for Morel. If you were going to, say, for instance, trade for Bryce Miller, this might be a guy that you could throw out there at this point and maybe get for him. Because I got to say, when I looked at, I suspected there might be an issue with him, but when I looked at it, it was maybe even worse than I thought. He's not running at all, first of all, despite the fact that he has an 83 percentile sprint speed. He has 1 steal and 1 caught stealing. So that kind of narrows his usefulness down right away. So the next issue is the contact percentage. So he's currently batting about 280, and that's off a nice little heater that he's been running for the past couple of weeks. And when you watch the guy, he's fun player. He's got great bat speed, very athletic. But he swings and misses a lot, and he swings outside the zone quite a bit, even though he's marginally improved from last year. His contact percentage is around 68%. So anything below 70%, you're looking at a batting average in the low 200s. Even worse when you look at the profile is his in-zone contact is in the upper 70s, like 77%. So he's not swinging at good pitches when he's swinging. He's swinging like, at everything pretty much. And so he'll beat bad pitchers or bad pitches, but he's swinging at about 60. His swinging strike rate is about 16%. That's why he's striking out at about 30%. So when you have all of that going on, you're not going to hit 280. That's just a given. So you're pretty much looking at a guy who can wallop the ball when he hits it, and he's been hitting it. So it's sort of like that Patrick Wisdom profile, but Wisdom may actually have even more raw power. So at this point, yeah, I like the cat, and that's always the problem with these, sell high or whatever. You're banking on somebody else not seeing something you're seeing, but all of this information is available. So it's really about need. So that's why a batter for a pitcher sometimes is like a good option as opposed to just a challenge. Batter for batter, pitcher for pitcher. So yeah, Morel for Bryce Miller. I wanted to make this like as practical as possible, so that's a trade I'd make, or on either side possibly if the need was right. So last, I've got a couple of free agent, guys who are available like in Yahoo, under 20% kind of cats. Um, I play in Yahoo. It's like not my favorite, but the league that I'm in has been in there for forever, and yeah, like it's a good baseline, or it's a good barometer. And speaking of good barometers, this is a good recommendation when my frenemy, who's the commissioner of this league, just picked this guy up. So yeah, he should be good because I'm going to talk about him, and I've already written about him as the Red Sox sleeper for the year. So it's Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran, and I think is his second season. I don't know how many ABs he got, plate appearances he got last year. Bad statistician. I've got other shit for you though. So he's like been, I think, kind of C blocked by Adam Duvall and kind of shuttled back and forth to the minors. So a lot of his like stats, I'm taking with a little bit of a grain of salt, and the negative ones I'm going to cherry pick. First off, though, he's already like stolen 15 bases and limited playing time, and that is because he's got a sprint speed of 95 percentile. He's a mad athletic dude. So he's got 5 dongs, and they were quality shots. I've got a couple of clips here. Like a couple of straightaway center and an oppo taco. My man definitely likes hitting off of the Toronto Blue Jays. He went 5 for 5 off of them the other day and just housed Kevin Gossman, like owned the dude. And he also likes hitting off of Jose Barrios, as we can see in these clips. So his strikeout percentage is 28%, not where you want it. So this is where I cherry pick, and that could be because of sporadic playing time. And also his approach at the plate, maybe like he's one of those too patient kind of guys. And that levels out with consistent playing time because he's got a very high OBP. He's got an OBP over 350. And that's indicative of someone who has a good eye at the plate, as is his swinging strike rate of 10%. So he's like the opposite of Chris Morel, but has a similar strikeout rate. And like prognosticating forward, I'd say Duran's strikeout rate goes down. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, at the end of the day, playing time has a big thing to do with it, but he's worth speculating on, as my league mate determined as well, because the tools are there. I mean, you watch him play, and he just turns singles into doubles. Like he was schooling Kevin Gaussman's outfield when he was hitting against him the other day. Went 5 for 5. Yeah, especially if you need steals. Duran gets on base, has the pop, has some good exit velocities, and will, I think, if given the right amount of playing time, turn into like kind of a stud. for fantasy purposes especially. So, speaking of potential studs, another guy I wrote up recently for the fantasy column is the New York Mets prospect, still in the minors. They're just doing all kinds of things to tease me. They just traded Eduardo Escobar. And speaking of tease, I'll finally say his name, Ronnie Mauricio. So they've just moved him to left field to give him some more options even. But like I said, they just traded Escobar, opens up a spot on the infield potentially. Mauricio can play all over. He's a switch hitter, and what has me really hot and bothered over him is that he's cut down his strikeout rate to like 16, 17%. So that's in the range of somebody who can hit like 280, 290. That is an above average hit tool. And if you combine that with his kind of, he's a physical specimen. So his ability to like beast, is demonstrable in his max exit velocities in the minors right now, which are like 116. So he had like a 2020 season last year in the minors. And I think that's what you might be able to project going forward, ideally, for this guy. And that's like, somebody who could hit 280, 2020, top 50 player maybe. So the Mets are all kinds of, whatever this year. So they need to bring this guy up, and we'll bring him up probably right after the All-Star break. I've been stashing him forever. I'm going to hold on to him because the tools are there. He's got a little bit of speed. He's got a little bit more power than he has speed. But, 20 between the two stolen bases, home runs, once he comes up, let's do it. I'd take that. So with that, I'm gonna go edit all of this and then go enjoy some morning baseball. And I hope that everyone also does the same and enjoy your 4th of July.